So hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, whichever there is for you. So today in today's lecture we are going to cover a very important topic which is called friction. As you all can see, this topic is very important not just for your problem solving purposes but in order to understand your real life situations as well. So you will definitely encounter a lot of situations in which you can clearly apply all the learnings that you're going to do or that you're going to learn in today's lecture. Okay, perfect. So without a further ado, let's start with the lecture. So what is friction? Friction is nothing but a type of force that opposes relative motion between surfaces in contact. So there could be two surfaces or there could be multiple surfaces, but momentarily we're talking about two surfaces, let's say. So if two surfaces are there in contact with each other, then the friction, if it is present there, it is going to oppose the relative motion between two surfaces or between two objects as per se. Right? Now we need, before we try to understand what does these words have to offer for us, opposes, relative motion, right? And obviously surfaces in contact, you understand that already. Let's try to imagine something. Okay, let's try to imagine a wedge or an inclined plane if you can, and let's try to understand that what we can do with it. Okay, so let's try to understand a different scenario. In this scenario, you have an inclined plane or wedge with you and you're dropping a ball on it. Okay, can you see it? Yeah, so I have a wedge over here and I'm dropping a ball from the top of it. Okay, what is going to happen? As you can clearly give me as an answer, this ball apparently, sir, is going to roll down. Yeah, that is what is going to happen. This ball will apparently roll down to the ground, if we can conclude this as a ground. And in this scenario, students, this ball will continue to roll, continue to move in the right direction or away from the wedge. Now why is it happening? We will discuss it later. Let's try to understand, let's try to imagine one more case, one more scenario. Okay, now in this scenario number 2, we have a wedge, the same inclined plane or a wedge with you, and a ball is getting dropped, okay, from the air on the wedge again. But in this scenario something is different. As you can clearly see, this ball is getting rolled down, and when it reaches the ground, it does move a little on the right side, it does translates on the right side, but after a certain time it eventually stops. Now what is the reason? Why is it happening? Because in the first scenario, as we discussed, the ball keeps on moving. Sir, everything seems same, then why is it happening? Okay, let's try to discuss this one. Let's try to unfold this puzzle. Okay, so friction, let's try to get back to the definition. Friction is a type of force which opposes relative motion between two surfaces. So in the scenario 1, the surface between the ball and the ground, the two surfaces which were in contact, the ball and the ground, the surface between those two were smooth. Now I hope you understand what smooth is. There is no roughness. Okay, there was a very smooth surface on which the ball was rolling, and you can say that the ball itself had a smooth surface, or even if it doesn't, then at least the ground surface was very smooth. Okay, perfect. But what happened in the other scenario? In this other scenario, clearly you cannot investigate, clearly you cannot identify through your naked eyes, but this scenario, this ground is different, the surface is different. In this particular scenario, the surface is more rough than in comparison to the first scenario. So there were friction which was involved in the second scenario. Now let's try to zoom in. You have a surface, in this particular case you have a surface, and you're trying to zoom in, you're trying to use a microscope on this particular surface, let's say. So if you can imagine, we have a surface which seems perfectly smooth, as you can see through the naked eyes, but once we zoom in, Can you imagine that a tiny teeny bit hills and wedges are present in this particular case, on this particular surface, or you can call it irregularities. Everything seems same, but once you zoomed in or you used a microscope on the surface, which the ball was in contact with. Okay. Yeah. So this surface you are zooming in. Okay. Perfect. Once you zoom in, you get to encounter that there were some sort of irregularities on the surface of the ball, and there were some sort of irregularities on the surface of the ground, which we are calling the ground. And because of these irregularities, the friction is there. And this is what we learn in the second subtopic, which is called cause of friction. What is the cause? Because there are irregularities present on the surfaces of objects. They kind of intertwine with each other, they kind of interlock with each other, and because of this interlocking or this sort of bond formation between two surfaces, it kind of stops each other or opposes the relative motion between them. So this opposition of the relative motion between two surfaces is nothing what we'd like to call friction. So that's what friction is. The oppose or the opposition, a force that opposes the relative motion between two surfaces or between two objects. But sir, there's still one thing yet to understand. What is this relative motion? Let's try to break it down. Okay. Let's try to understand this through an example. Okay. Okay. So you're traveling in a bus or a train or a car or anything else, anything that you can imagine. Okay. So you're traveling in a bus. You're sitting on your chair comfortably. Okay. And as you can see, there's a passenger sitting just right in front of you. Okay. Now what do you see? Can you see, if you're not looking outside, okay, there's this rule, you cannot look outside. Okay, you just need to look in front of you, and there's just this fellow passenger sitting in front of you. Okay, and if the bus is moving, then if you want to check that if you're moving, you're just looking in front of you, there's a passenger sitting in front of you. Okay, but you clearly observe that the passenger is not moving. The passenger is at rest, but is he or she? You can tell that if you change the reference frame. So you call your friend who is just standing outside the bus. Eventually, and you called him, he was talking to you, and he can tell you that no, you guys are not sitting still, you guys are moving. At some time earlier, you were somewhere here. And after some time, you clearly covered some distance. So you were in motion, you are still in motion. But with respect to this passenger was not moving. So this is what we try to understand what relative motion is. So relative motion is with respect to other. If one object is moving with respect to other, then that's called relative motion. So friction is not opposing the motion itself. Rather, we should use specifically that friction is opposing the relative motion between two objects or between the two surfaces of two objects. Secondly, it's a contact force. So two surfaces needs to be in contact with each other. So these are the few points that you need to remember, then you need to understand when you try to understand what friction is. Okay. We will try to unfurl more concepts, more understanding of friction in the upcoming lecture. For today, that's all for today. Yeah, one more thing I needed to share with you guys, that I am getting a lot of messages these days that we are not able to solve few problems. Okay, we feel like giving up. So there's this one learning that I've gotten from my experiences, which I would like to share with you. If you will not try, you will eventually fail. If you're not even trying, you're trying to solve few problems, few puzzles, but you're not able to crack it. So you lack the motivation, you lack the will to solve these problems, to solve those problems, and you eventually give up. Then there's a short failure, short possibility of not getting through it. But if you'll try to get some perspective, and you try to keep continuing that, you try to keep doing it regularly, day by day, then one day will definitely come, then on which you will feel that you have improved, and you are finally trying to do, and you're finally able to do all those problems which you are not able to at some point of time. So what I will suggest is, hang in there, give it some time, give it some more time. Okay, befriend discipline, and then you will definitely see a difference. So that's all for today. I'll meet you guys in the next lecture with a lot of interesting topics and a lot of interesting learnings. Okay, goodbye.